CMFAS Module 5 Chapter 2 Financial Advisors Act and Financial Advisors Regulations, Financial Advisors and Representatives. This chapter will discuss the main concepts and principles underpinning the FAA and the FAR, in particular, those aspects relevant to financial advisors and representatives of Singapore. As previously mentioned, the mission of the MAS is to sustain non-inflationary economic growth and promote a sound and progressive financial services sector. As the regulator of the financial services industry, the MAS issued and administered various instruments under the Acts. Acts are passed by Parliament and are under the purview of the MAS. This chapter will cover Parts 1 and 2 of the Financial Advisors Act, FAA, and related regulations. On October 1, 2002, the Financial Advisors Act, FAA, began regulating investment product sales in Singapore. The FAA is an integrated regulatory framework. The FAA consolidates the Securities Industry Act, Futures Trading Act, and Insurance Intermediaries Act into a single piece of legislation. The FAA provides a consistent set of requirements and regulations for market intermediaries engaging in the distribution or marketing of investment products, and specific functionally similar investment products, namely life insurance policies, collective investment schemes, including unit trusts. Financial markets in Singapore include banking, especially investment banking, wealth management, and treasury activities, insurance, and capital market, securities, futures, and derivatives, services. The FAA governs the business conduct of persons providing financial advisory services. Remember, the FAA has the force of law. A breach of FAA can be considered a criminal offense. As described earlier, subsidiary legislation spells out the requirements of the Acts in greater detail and has the force of law. The FAR, Financial Advisors Regulations, is prescribed by the MAS as a subsidiary legislation. The FAR came into effect on October 1, 2002, the same day as the FAA. The FAR gives effect to the provisions of the FAA and sets out the rules on the application of the FAA. The FAR provides for: first, exemptions from the requirements relating to licensing. Second, approval or registration requirements. Third, the application of the provisions under the FAA, and fourth, the revocation or variation of any condition or restriction under the FAA. There are four fundamental principles underpinning the FAA and the FAR. The first, customer's interest. It includes three aspects. A. Know your client requirement. Financial advisors are required to have a reasonable basis for their recommendations. To do this, financial advisors must first know your client. This ensures that due consideration has been given to customers' investment objectives, financial situation, and particular needs. B. Conduct a needs analysis process. A financial advisor's representative should analyze the information provided by the client and identify appropriate investment products for the client. C. Keeping proper documentation and record underpins this process to provide good advice to customers. The second, consistency. Consistency must apply to processes for the same product. This means the same investment product, such as life insurance, and advisors from different distribution channels, would be subject to the same rules and standards. Consistency would apply to similar products as well. The sale of functionally similar products, such as single premium investment-linked policies and unit trusts, would be subject to similar rules and standards. The third, accountability. Representative to act for only one principle, rule. One representative one principal rule means that each financial advisor representative can represent only one principal. So if you are a tied agent, you cannot be a licensed FA representative at the same time. What is a tied agent? A tied agent is a representative of only one investment company, example, Great Eastern Holdings Limited. This means they are simply salespeople of the company and can only advise on and sell products of the company they represent. And they cannot be a representative of any other FA. This is to ensure absolute clarity to the investors to whom they can turn for accountability. The fourth, independence. Representatives of financial advisors should put customers' interests first by giving good objective advice and be guided by the concept of a reasonable basis. Consequently, the principles and guidelines on the determination of independent have been laid down in Regulation 21 of the FAR and the guidelines on the use of the term independent by financial advisors. In short, no licensed financial advisor or exempt financial advisor shall use the word independent, unless there is no beneficial interest or conflict of interest between the financial advisor company and any product provider. This will be delved into later. Who needs a financial advisor's license? A financial advisor's license is a license that a company needs if it wishes to conduct financial advisory services regulated under the Financial Advisors Act in Singapore. A corporation needs a license to operate unless they are being exempted. Humans cannot be an FA. Remember, a person refers to a corporation, not an individual. No person shall act as a financial advisor in respect of financial advisory service unless he has a FA's license or is an exempt FA. No person shall hold himself out to be a FA unless he is a licensed FA, an exempt FA, or a person specified in the first schedule. A person specified in the first schedule is defined as an excluded financial advisor, and does not fall within the financial advisor definition under the FAA. Who is a financial advisor? A financial advisor is a person who carries on a business of providing any financial advisory service, but does not include any person specified in the first schedule. That means a financial advisor in Singapore must be a company, not an individual. Again, a person specified in the first schedule is defined as an excluded financial advisor, and does not fall within the financial advisor definition under the FAA. Who is an exempt financial advisor? An exempt financial advisor is exempted from holding a financial advisor's license to act as a FA in Singapore as it is covered under its respective act. The following persons shall be exempted. A bank or merchant bank licensed under the Banking Act. A company or cooperative society licensed under the Insurance Act. A holder of a capital market services license under the Securities and Futures Act. A finance company that has been granted an exemption from Section 25(2) of the Finance Companies Act to carry on a business of providing any financial advisory service, and an approved exchange, a recognized market operator, or an approved holding company, in respect of the provision of any financial advisory service that is solely incidental to its operations. Who is an excluded financial advisor under the FAA? An excluded financial advisor is the person who is excluded from the definition of financial advisors under the FAA. As providing financial advisory services is solely incidental to its licensed business. It means that its licensed business is not a financial advisory service. Under the first schedule of the FAA, the following persons are defined as excluded financial advisors, and do not fall within the definition of financial advisor under the FAA. Any legal professional who is approved or registered under the Legal Profession Act. Any public accountant or accounting corporation registered or approved under the Accountants Act. Any company licensed under the Trust Companies Act. Any proprietor of a newspaper permitted under the Newspaper and Printing Presses Act. Any person who owns, operates, or provides an information service through an electronic, broadcasting, or telecommunications medium. Any person who provides credit rating services. Any public statutory corporation established under any act in Singapore. Any approved trustee under Division 2 of Part 13 of the Securities and Futures Act. The official assignee in exercising his powers under the Bankruptcy Act. The public trustee in exercising his powers under the Public Trustee Act. Any person acting in relation to a company as its liquidator, provisional liquidator, receiver and manager, or judicial manager. Any foreign company whose financial advisory service is effected under an arrangement between the foreign company and its related corporation licensed or exempt under the FAA, where the MAS approves such arrangement. From the previous introduction, we know three types of financial advisors in Singapore: FA, Exempt FA, and Excluded FA. They can all provide financial advisory services. But what is the difference between them? As shown in the table, the principal business of a FA is financial advisory service. Before running its business, a FA must be licensed by the MAS under the Financial Advisors Act. For example, Expat Advisory Group is a company that specializes in providing financial advisory services in Singapore. It must obtain the FA license to conduct its business. The principal business of an exempt FA includes but is not limited to financial advisory service. An exempt FA is exempted from holding a financial advisor's license as it is covered under its respective act by the MAS. For example, a bank or merchant bank is licensed under the Banking Act by the MAS. The principal business of a bank or merchant bank includes but is not limited to FA service. An excluded FA is excluded from the definition of financial advisors under the FAA. As providing financial advisory service is solely incidental to its licensed business, which is not a financial advisory service. For example, a Singapore law practice is licensed under the Legal Profession Act by the Law Society of Singapore. FA service is not the principal business of a Singapore law practice. Advisory service is solely incidental to their primary business. The types of financial advisory services regulated under the FAA are as follows. The first one is, have direct contact with clients to advise others, either directly or through publications or writings, whether in electronic, print or other forms, concerning any investment product. But not include advising on corporate finance within the Securities and Futures Act. Second, do not contact directly with clients but advise others by issuing or promulgating research analyses or research reports, whether in electronic, print, or other forms, concerning any investment product. Third, arranging any insurance contract in respect of life policies other than a reinsurance contract. The range of products under the FAA's ambit includes only products of an investment nature. The FAA provides that investment product means a. Any capital market products. Capital markets products means any securities, units in a collective investment scheme, derivatives contracts, spot foreign exchange contracts for the purposes of leveraged foreign exchange trading, and such other products as the MAS may prescribe as capital markets products. B. Spot foreign exchange contracts other than for the purposes of leveraged foreign exchange trading. C. Any life policy. D. Structured deposit, or E. Any other products as may be prescribed. Excluded products. The following products are excluded from the definition of investment products. 1. General insurance policies. 2. Deposit-taking products, and 3. Loans and mortgages. General insurance policies, as opposed to life insurance policies, are not considered investment products as they are consumption-based. Deposit-taking products offered by banks are excluded as such products are at the low end of the risk spectrum and are well understood. Loans and mortgages do not have any investment element and relate more to liability management. This section deals with the application and the minimum financial requirements for the grant of a financial advisor's license. How to apply for a financial advisor's license. What you need to do is just simply hand in Form 1 and application fee. Details and Form 1 are available on the MAS website. In assessing an application for a financial advisor's license, the MAS takes into consideration the following factors. A. Track record, management expertise, and financial soundness of the applicant and its parent company or major shareholders. B. Ability to meet the minimum financial requirements and professional indemnity insurance requirements as prescribed under the FAA. C. Strength of internal compliance systems. D. Business plans and projections, and E. Fitness and propriety. In respect of the last factor, fitness and propriety, the applicant shall satisfy the MAS that it is a fit and proper person to be licensed. All of its directors and chief executive officer are fit and proper persons to hold the office, and all of its substantial shareholders and representatives are fit and proper persons. With effect from November 26, 2010, all existing financial advisors' licenses would no longer have to be renewed. That means that once the license is issued, it will remain valid. What a FA needs to do is to pay the annual license fee. Unless the following circumstances. 1. The license holder ceases to carry on the business that the license relates to. 2. The license lapses, due to the winding up of the license holder or other prescribed circumstances. Winding up means the license holder closes down the business. 3. The license is revoked or suspended by the MAS. Need for professional indemnity insurance policy. The FAA stipulates that a licensed FA shall, at all times, 1. Maintain minimum financial requirements or such other requirements as may be prescribed under the FAA. 2. Have a professional indemnity insurance policy in force. The cover of this professional indemnity insurance policy is consistent with limit and deductible requirements as required, or any other measure as may be approved by the authority in place of a professional indemnity insurance policy under the FAA. Professional indemnity insurance policy is an insurance contract. Under this contract, a person is indemnified in respect of the liabilities or conduct of his business as a FA. If you don't have this protection, then you could be liable for any costs relating to a claim made against you. This could include legal costs and compensation. Specifically, the FA refers to a licensed financial advisor, not an exempt FA nor an excluded FA. The MAS may refuse an application for the grant of a financial advisor's license, if A. The applicant is not a corporation. B. The applicant is unable to meet or continue to meet minimum financial requirements. C. The applicant does not have a professional indemnity insurance policy in force. D. The applicant has not furnished the MAS with information or documents as required. D. Any information or document furnished to the MAS is false or misleading. E. The applicant or any of its substantial shareholders is in the course of being wound up or dissolved, whether in Singapore or elsewhere. F. Any property of the applicant or any of its substantial shareholders is under receivership, whether in Singapore or elsewhere. G. the applicant or any of its substantial shareholders has entered into a compromise or scheme of arrangement with its creditors, or the compromise or scheme is still in operation, whether in Singapore or elsewhere. H. A judgment debt execution against the applicant or any of its substantial shareholders has not been paid back in whole or in part. I. The MAS is not satisfied with the educational qualification or experience of the officers or employees of the applicant. J. The MAS has reason to believe that the applicant, or any of its officers or employees, will not perform the functions of a FA efficiently, honestly, or fairly. K. A prohibition order against the applicant under Section 68 of the FAA has been made by the MAS and remains in force. That means the applicant failed to safeguard records as required. L. The applicant or any of its substantial shareholders or officers has been convicted of an offense involving fraud or dishonesty, or has been convicted of an offense under the FAA, whether in Singapore or elsewhere. M. The applicant fails to satisfy fitness and propriety criteria. That means that the applicant or any of its substantial shareholders, officers, or employees, is not a fit and proper person. N. The MAS has reason to believe that the applicant may not act in the best interests of its clients, having regard to the reputation, character, financial integrity and reliability of the applicant or any of its officers, employees or substantial shareholders. O. The MAS is not satisfied as to 1. The financial standing of the applicant or any of its substantial shareholders. 2. The manner in which the applicant's business is to be conducted, or 3. The record of past performance or expertise of the applicant. P. Circumstances that likely lead to 1. The improper conduct of business by the applicant or any of its relevant people, or 2. Reflect discredit on the manner of conduct of the business, or Q. The authority is of the opinion that it would be contrary to the public interest to grant the license. The MAS may refuse an application for the grant of a FA on any of the following grounds without giving the applicant an opportunity to be heard. A. The applicant is being wound up or dissolved, whether in Singapore or elsewhere. B. Any property of the applicant is under receivership, whether in Singapore or elsewhere. C. A prohibition order against the applicant under Section 68 of the FAA has been made by the MAS and remains in force. That means the applicant failed to safeguard records as required. D. The applicant has been convicted of an offense involving fraud or dishonesty, whether in Singapore or elsewhere. The applicant shall meet the following minimum financial requirements for the grant of a financial advisor's license. 1. In the case of providing any or all of the following financial advisory services. A. Futures contracts. B. Spot foreign exchange contracts. C. OTC derivatives contracts. The paid-up capital of the applicant is not less than 300,000 Singapore dollars or, where the applicant is a foreign company, its net head office funds are not less than 300,000 Singapore dollars, or 2. In any other case, the paid-up capital of the applicant is not less than 150,000 Singapore dollars. A licensed financial advisor shall not reduce its paid-up capital without the prior approval of the MAS. Any licensed financial advisor who contravenes the above requirements shall be guilty of an offense and shall be liable to a fine not exceeding 50,000 Singapore dollars. Continuing financial requirements. Under the regulation of the FAR, a licensed financial advisor, not being a foreign company, shall at all times maintain a net asset value of not less than A. In the case where it does not have an immediately preceding financial year, 3/4 of the minimum paid-up capital, or B. In any other case. 1. 1/4 of its relevant annual expenditure of the immediately preceding financial year, or 2. 3/4 of the minimum paid-up capital, whichever is the higher. A licensed financial advisor who is a foreign company shall at all times maintain net head office funds of not less than a. In the case where it does not have an immediately preceding financial year, the minimum net head office funds, or b. In any other case. 1. 1/4 of its relevant annual expenditure of the immediately preceding financial year, or 2. The minimum net head office funds, whichever is the higher. For the above requirements, the relevant annual expenditure of a licensed financial advisor for the immediately preceding financial year means the total cost of the financial advisor for that year less the following: a. Staff bonuses, b. Employees and directors' shares, and c. Any commission or fee paid to its representatives. Any licensed financial advisor against the above requirements shall be guilty of an offense. The FAA also allows a category of persons to be exempted from holding a financial advisor's license. The group of persons called exempt persons, as we have introduced before. They are licensed bank or merchant bank, companies licensed under the Insurance Act, holder of a capital market services license, finance companies, and an approved exchange, a recognized market operator, or an approved holding company for which financial advisory service is solely incidental to its operations. In addition, for an exempt fund manager who is also an exempt FA, the total number of qualified and accredited investors it serves should not exceed 30. There are 4 prerequisites to be met by exempt persons. They are: 1. Fit and proper. 2. Competence and capability. 3. Disciplinary and compliance. 4. Minimum financial viability. The first one is fit and proper. It is a requirement for an exempt person to be fit and proper. An exempt person must be able to satisfy and demonstrate to the MAS that it meets the fit and proper criteria in respect of a. Honesty, integrity, and reputation. b. Competence and capability. c. Financial soundness. Substantial shareholders, directors, and representatives of the exempt person must also be fit and proper. The second prerequisite is competence and capability. An exempt person must maintain operations in Singapore and have adequate resources, including compliance arrangements corresponding with the size and scale of its business activities in Singapore. To demonstrate that it has meaningful operations in Singapore, an exempt person is expected to a. Employ a minimum of 2 professionals, each with at least 5 years of relevant working experience in reputable jurisdictions. b. Have at least 1 resident CEO or executive director who exercises management oversight of its operations. The third one. Disciplinary and compliance records of the exempt person and its key persons or representatives in Singapore and other jurisdictions. The fourth, minimum financial viability. An exempt person is expected to ensure that its ability to pay its debts in full as they fall due, and its assets value is not less than the value of liabilities, including contingent liabilities. An exempt person, including its representatives, cannot represent itself, nor cause to be represented, to any person as being licensed, regulated, supervised, or registered by the MAS, whether verbally or in writing. That means the person the FAA allows to be exempted from holding a financial advisor's license should not declare that he is a licensed FA. Who are accredited investors? An accredited investor refers to a. an individual. 1. Whose net personal assets exceed 2 million Singapore dollars in value, or equivalent in a foreign currency, or 2. Whose financial assets, net of any related liabilities, exceed in value $1 million. Financial asset means a deposit, an investment product, or any other asset, or 3. Whose income in the preceding 12 months is not less than 300,000 Singapore dollars, or equivalent in a foreign currency. B. A corporation with net assets exceeding 10 million Singapore dollars in value, or equivalent in a foreign currency, as determined by 1. The most recent audited balance sheet of the corporation, or 2. A balance sheet within the preceding 12 months. C. The trustee of such trust as the authority may prescribe when acting in that capacity. The following trusts are prescribed. Any trust all the beneficiaries of which are accredited investors, or any trust all the settlers of which 1. Are accredited investors. 2. Have reserved to themselves all powers of investment and asset management functions under the trust, and 3. Have reserved to themselves the power to revoke the trust, or any trust the subject matter of which exceeds $10 million, or its equivalent in a foreign currency, in value. To avoid doubt, any reference to trust includes a bare trust. What is the meaning of bare trust? A bare trust means the asset set aside by the settlor will always go directly to the intended beneficiary. Bare trusts are often used to pass assets to young people. The trustees look after them until the beneficiary is old enough. For example, you leave your sister some money in your will. D. Other person as the authority may prescribe. The following persons are prescribed. 1. An entity, other than a corporation, with net assets exceeding $10 million, or its equivalent in a foreign currency, in value. 2. A partnership, other than a limited liability partnership, in which every partner is an accredited investor. 3. A corporation, the entire share capital of which is owned by accredited investors. 4. A person who holds a joint account with an accredited investor in respect of dealings through that joint account. Who are qualified investors? A qualified investor refers to a. An accredited investor, other than 1. A participant in a collective investment scheme, or 2. A holder of a unit in a closed-end fund, or 3. A corporation or an entity which is related to or controlled by a person exempted from holding a capital market service license to carry on business in fund management, and the shares or debentures of which are sold to any person who is not an accredited investor after May 28, 2008, or 4. A corporation or an entity is a collective investment scheme or a closed-end fund, the units of which are, after May 28, 2008, sold to any person who is not an accredited investor after May 28, 2008. B. A collective investment scheme, the units of which are sold in Singapore only to accredited investors, institutional investors, or in other places, after May 28, 2008, to accredited investors and institutional investors. C. A closed-end fund, the units of which are sold only to accredited investors and institutional investors. D. An institutional investor, other than a collective investment scheme, or E. A limited partnership, where the limited partners comprise accredited investors and institutional investors. Note: an exempt person is required to conduct its own due diligence to verify that its clients are of qualified or accredited status. The due diligence checks should be supported by documentary evidence for a proper audit trail. For the term financial advisor only, a licensed FA, an exempt FA, or a person approved by the authority, shall use the words financial advisor, indicating that it carries on business as a FA in Singapore. An appointed or provisional representative of a licensed FA or exempt FA can use the words financial advisor, together with the word representative, indicating that he is a representative of a FA. For the term life insurance broker only, a licensed FA, an exempt FA, or a person approved by the authority, shall use the words life insurance broker, indicating that it carries on the business of providing financial advisory service in respect of life policies in Singapore. An appointed or provisional representative of a licensed FA or exempt FA which provides financial advisory service in respect of life policies can use the words life insurance broker, together with the word representative. Any person who contravenes the above rules shall be guilty of an offense and shall be liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 12,500 Singapore dollars and, in the case of a continuing offense, to a further fine not exceeding 1,250 Singapore dollars for every day during the conviction. No licensed financial advisor, or exempt financial advisor shall use the word independent or similar expression to carry on business in Singapore. Unless 1. Commission or other benefit received is not a result of product bias. Product bias means the products recommended by a FA are greatly affected by the commission. If the FA recommends products based on how much commission it can earn, it should not call itself independent. 2. The FA operates free from any direct or indirect restriction relating to any investment product which is recommended, and 3. The FA operates without any conflict of interest created by any connection to or association with any product provider. For such people, the term independent is not prohibited but strongly discouraged. For all the other people, the term shall not be used. An infringement of the above shall be guilty of an offense. Does a representative need a license to act on behalf of a FA in Singapore? Before November 26, 2010, if an individual wants to carry out financial advisory activities as a financial institution's representative, he must get a license himself from the MAS. The MAS launched the Representative Notification Framework, RNF, on November 26, 2010. With the RNF, representatives no longer need to do so. Under the RNF, financial institutions intending to appoint a financial advisor representative will have to 1. Lodge a notice of intent with the MAS and 2. Provide a fit and proper certification for that representative. The onus that means responsibility is now on the principals to accept only fit and proper individuals as their representatives. This is to ensure that representatives are fit and proper. Under the RNF, each appointed or provisional representative will have the following information recorded on a public register of representatives. 1. His name. 2. The name of his current principal and every past principal, if any. The principal here means a company that hires the representative. 3. The current and past types of financial advisory service provided by him, and the date of commencement and cessation, if any, of such service. 4. The business name, if the business name of the principal is different from its records. 5. Disciplinary proceedings or other action taken by the MAS against him and published under the FAA, and 6. Such other information as may be prescribed by the MAS. And this information is kept by the MAS. The public register is accessible to the public through the MAS website. The public register promotes greater transparency within the financial sector and encourages consumers to take their own initiative to verify the status of the representatives. Let me give you a demo. Input the representative number/name on the portal of the Register of Representatives. If the information is valid, you will see the general information of the representative, his representative number, his name, and the name of his principal company. If you meet a handsome guy on Tinder who claims to be a wealthy banker, you can search on this website to find out whether he is working for PCK Company or just a scammer. Click the representative number, you can find out more details. The detailed information includes the name of the principal company of the representative, his regulated activities, status, and specific time of the status. For our sample PCK, his principal company is PCK Assurance Company. His regulated activities include advising on investment products, life policies, and arranging contracts of insurance in respect of life policies. He has been appointed since 2018. Who are representatives? Representatives are individuals who provide any financial advisory services on behalf of the FA, their principal, which is a company. A representative. 1. Must be a natural person. 2. Whether or not they have direct employment. 3. Whether or not he is remunerated in any form. E.g. Carolyn, a natural person not getting a monthly salary but engaging in relevant activities, is defined as a representative. 4. Regardless of the job title. Example, Conrad, a director of a licensed financial advisor who engages in relevant activities, is defined as a representative. Representative to act for only one principal. That means no appointed representative or provisional representative shall at any one time be a representative of more than one principal unless otherwise approved by the MAS in writing. However, if the principals are related corporations, an appointed representative may be a representative of more than one principal. What are related corporations? Related corporations mean these corporations are holding and subsidiary companies. If so, an appointed representative may act for more than one principal. The objectives of the one rep one principal rule are twofold. To secure clarity for the investors about the status of the representatives, the FAs that they represent, and more importantly, where the responsibility rests for complaints and redresses, and to ensure that the FAs closely monitor and supervise their representatives at all times. Any person who contravenes the one rep one principal rule shall be guilty of an offense and fine less than 25,000 Singapore dollars or imprisonment for a term less than 12 months both and, in the case of a continuing offense, to a further fine less than 2,500 Singapore dollars every day during the conviction. The FAA provides two classes of representatives, appointed representatives and provisional representatives. Individuals who wish to provide financial advisory services on behalf of a licensed FA or an exempt FA are required to be appointed as an appointed or provisional representatives in respect of that type of financial advisory service. An appointed representative shall meet in full the entry and examination requirements prescribed by the MAS and has his name entered in the public register. A provisional representative shall also meet the entry requirements and has his name entered in the public register. But he has not yet passed the relevant examinations. The provisional representative scheme aims to facilitate the relocation of experienced professionals currently licensed in an overseas jurisdiction to Singapore and allow them to begin working as soon as possible. A provisional representative is given a grace period of 3 months to pass the requisite examinations. During the grace period, he can provide financial advisory services. That means his registration is valid for only 3 months. He must pass the exam within 3 months. Otherwise, the registration will expire, and he will no longer be able to provide financial advisory services. After his principal notified the MAS, within the grace period, of fulfilling the relevant examination requirements with Form 3D, the provisional representative can continue to provide service as an appointed representative. To work as an appointed representative or provisional representative, the following entry requirements must be met. 1. Be at least 21 years old. 2. Satisfy the minimum academic qualification and examination requirements as prescribed in the Notice on Minimum Entry and Examination Requirements for Representatives of Licensed FAs and Exempt FAs. 3. Be fit and proper. 4. Any other criteria stipulated by the MAS. Who can act as a representative? As we can see, two kinds of representatives can act as a representative of a FA. Appointed or provisional rep. And non-appointed or non-provisional rep. For appointed or provisional representatives, they can represent on behalf of a licensed FA or an exempt FA, including banks and merchant banks, insurance companies, CMS license holders, and finance companies. For these companies, financial advisory service is their principal business or one of their primary business. But for the specific category of exempt FA, an approved exchange, a recognized market operator, or an approved holding company, and such other persons or classes of persons may be prescribed by the MAS. Even though financial advisory service is one of their principal business, it is solely incidental to its operation. Their representatives are non-appointed representatives or non-provisional representatives. That means their name doesn't have to be entered into the public register. But they can also act as representatives of a FA. Once an appointed or provisional representative has their name registered in the public register, they can act as a representative. The type of financial advisory service that they provide must be the same as the FA represented or within the capacity of the exempt FA license. For instance, if the regulated activities of a merchant bank include securities trading but not life policies, representatives of this merchant bank shall not advise on life policies and shall not arrange contracts of life policies. As we said previously, there are also non-appointed or non-provisional representatives. For their principal company, financial advisory service is solely incidental to its operation. But they can also act as representatives of a FA. It is essential to note that non-appointed representatives or non-provisional representatives of the specific exempt FA, when providing financial advisory services, must ensure that the type and scope of the financial advisory service, and the manner in which the financial advisory service is provided, are the same as the exempt FA they represent for. An individual who contravenes the above rule commits an offense and will be liable for conviction. 1. To a fine not exceeding 25,000 Singapore dollars, or 2. To imprisonment for a term not exceeding 12 months, or to both. For a continuing offense, to a further fine not exceeding 2,500 Singapore dollars every day during the conviction. Likewise, a licensed FA, as principal, commits an offense if it permits any such individual above to carry on business in any type of financial advisory service. The penalty for the principal is a fine not exceeding 50,000 Singapore dollars. And in the case of a continuing offense, to a further fine not exceeding 5,000 Singapore dollars every day during the conviction. Criteria to be an appointed representative. An appointed representative in respect of a type of financial advisory service is an individual. 1. Satisfies entry and examination requirements and has notified the MAS. 2. Has his name entered into the public register of representatives. 3. whose status as an appointed representative has not currently been revoked or suspended and has not currently been prohibited by the MAS from providing that type of financial advisory service. 4. Has not ceased to provide that type of financial advisory service. 5. Whose principal A. is licensed to provide that type of financial advisory service, or B. provides that type of financial advisory service in its capacity as a person exempted from the requirement to hold a financial advisor's license. That means rep service scope is not exceeding the service scope of the FA. An individual is no longer an appointed representative, if 1. He ceases to be the principal's representative. 2. He ceases to provide that type of financial advisory service on behalf of the principal. 3. His principal ceases to provide that type of financial advisory service. 4. The license of his principal is revoked, or lapses, or is prohibited from providing that type of financial advisory service. 5. The individual dies, or 6. Such other circumstances as the MAS may prescribe. A principal shall furnish particulars of such cessation to the MAS with Form 10 no later than the next business day after the day A. An individual ceases to be his representative, or B. His representative ceases to provide the type of financial advisory service he is appointed to. Form 10 is available on the MAS website. Under the following circumstance, the status of an appointed representative will be expired. 1. After 6 months of entering his name into the public register of representatives, he has not commenced acting as a representative. 2. He has not resumed acting as a representative for a continuous period of 1 month from the date of cessation. And during the period in which his principal's license is suspended, an individual shall not be treated as an appointed representative. A provisional representative in respect of a type of financial advisory service is an individual. 1. Has satisfied the entry requirements. 2. Intends to undergo an examination to satisfy the examination requirements. 3. Has his name entered in the public register of representatives as a provisional representative. 4. Whose status as a provisional representative has not currently been revoked or suspended and he has not currently been prohibited by the MAS from providing that type of financial advisory service. 5. Has not ceased to provide that type of financial advisory service. 6. Whose principal A. is licensed to provide that type of financial advisory service, or B. provides that type of financial advisory service in its capacity as a person exempted from the requirement to hold a financial advisor's license. That means the representative service scope does not exceed the FA service scope. These are as same as the criteria to be an appointed representative. 7. Has not previously been appointed as a provisional representative by the MAS. 8. Is not disqualified from acting as a provisional representative. These two criteria are specific for provisional reps, which differ from the requirements to be an appointed representative. As we can see from this table, the differences between the two representative appointment criteria mainly lie in the appointment of a provisional representative. 1. A provisional representative has not fulfilled the examination requirements but intends to undergo examination. 2. A provisional representative has not been appointed as a provisional rep before by the MAS. 3. A provisional representative is not disqualified from acting as a provisional representative by any circumstances prescribed by MAS. When does an individual cease to be a provisional representative? 1. The expiry of the grace period as specified by the MAS. An individual shall only be a provisional representative for a period not exceeding 3 months from the date his name is entered in the public register of representatives. So, this grace period does not exceed 3 months. 2. he fails to comply with any condition or restriction imposed on him under the FAA. 3. His principal informing the MAS of the satisfaction of the examination requirements, or 4. On the occurrence of such other circumstances, as the MAS may prescribe. For the third cessation of status, his principal informs the MAS of the satisfaction of the examination requirements, specifically. If a provisional representative in respect of that type of financial advisory service 1. Has satisfied the examination requirements specified for that type of financial advisory service, and 2. Whose principal has informed the MAS of that fact in Form 3D within the 3-month grace period. The provisional representative can continue to provide financial advisory services as an appointed representative. Form 3D is available on the MAS website. What should the principal do if they want to appoint a new rep? 1. Documents to be lodged with the MAS. A principal who desires to appoint an individual as an appointed or provisional representative in respect of any type of financial advisory service shall lodge the following documents with the MAS in such form and manner as the MAS may prescribe. A notice of intent to appoint the individual as an appointed or provisional rep in respect of that type of financial advisory service. B. A certificate that the individual is a fit and proper person to be an appointed or provisional, and C. In the case of a provisional rep, an undertaking to undertake such responsibilities in relation to the representative as may be prescribed. The responsibilities will be detailed in the next slide. 2. Entry into the public register. The MAS will then enter into the public register of representatives. A. The name of the representative, whether he is an appointed or provisional representative. B. The type of financial advisory service that he may provide, and C. Such other particulars as the MAS considers appropriate. How long should the principal keep the rep application documents? A principal who submits application documents shall keep copies of all information and documents for 5 years from the date of lodgment. Note that there are penalties if the documents are not lodged and kept in accordance with the FAA. A principal shall undertake all of the following responsibilities in relation to its provisional representatives. 1. Properly supervise the activities and conduct of the representative to ensure all obligations and liabilities incurred are fulfilled. 2. Put in place measures, including training, to ensure that the representative understands and complies with relevant Singapore laws. When providing financial advisory services, ensure the representative is accompanied by an authorized person at all times. Ensure the representative sends concurrently to any of the authorized persons all electronic mail that he sends to any client, and ensure the representative does not communicate by telephone with any client, other than by telephone conference presenting with authorized persons. Authorized persons refer to the appointed representative, director, or officer of the principal. Refuse entry, revoke, suspend status by the MAS. The MAS may refuse to enter the name and other particulars of an individual in the public register of representatives or revoke the status of an individual as an appointed or provisional representative if 1. He fails or ceases to act as a representative in respect of all of the types of financial advisory services notified to the MAS. 2. He or his principal has not provided the MAS with information or documents as required. 3. He is financially unsound. A. He is an undischarged bankrupt. B. His judgment debt has not been returned satisfied. C. He has entered into a compromise with his creditors. And/or 4. He has been convicted of an offense involving fraud or dishonesty, or an offense under the FAA. 5. He is not fit and proper. 6. The MAS is not satisfied with his educational or other qualifications or experience, or his record of past performance or expertise, or 7. The MAS has reason to believe that he will not perform efficiently, honestly, or fairly. Additional requirements for provisional representatives. The MAS may refuse to enter the name and other particulars of the individual in the Public Register of Representatives as a provisional representative if: first, he is not or was not previously licensed, authorized, or regulated as a rep in a foreign jurisdiction for a continuous period of at least 12 months. For example, Jerry was licensed and worked as a financial consultant in Hong Kong for 8 months. He moved to Singapore lately and wants to continue his career in the financial advisory industry. But his continuous license period is only 8 months, so the MAS refuses to enter his name in the public register. Second, the period between the date of him ceasing to be licensed, authorized, or regulated in a foreign jurisdiction and the date of his proposed appointment as a provisional representative exceeds 12 months. For example, Jerry was licensed and worked as a financial consultant in Hong Kong for 4 years. His license expired 13 months before he moved to Singapore. He wants to continue his career in the financial advisory industry in Singapore. But his HK license has already expired for 13 months, exceeding 12 months, so the MAS refuses to enter his name in the public register. Third, the MAS is not satisfied with the laws and practices of the jurisdiction related to his license, which protects investors. If a principal or individual lodges any document to the MAS, A. that is false or misleading, or B. that omits to state any material matter without which the document is misleading, shall be guilty of an offense with a fine not exceeding 50,000 Singapore dollars. Unless he can reasonably prove these statements or omissions are not false or misleading. Any person who is aggrieved by 1. the refusal of the MAS to enter his name and other particulars, or an additional type of financial advisory service in the Public Register of Representatives, or 2. the revocation or suspension of his status as an appointed or provisional rep, may appeal to the minister within 30 days after the MAS notifies him, whose decision shall be final. We have summarized a collection of forms mentioned in this chapter for your reference. Form 1. Application for a financial advisor's license. Form 3A. Notification for appointment of an appointed representative. Form 3B. Notification for appointment of a provisional representative. Form 3D. Notification of the completion of examination requirements by a provisional representative. Form 10. Notification for the cessation of a representative in any or all of the financial advisory services. Form 18. Notification to change particulars for a representative.
Passcmfas.online help your success. If you need to take the CMFAS exam, welcome to explore our study materials, question bank, group class, and one-to-one tutorial. If you have any questions about the CMFAS exams, please get in touch with us. Office hours: Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Weekends and public holidays, closed. Website, Passcmfas.online. Phone, +65 60111029. WhatsApp, +65 88743947. Email address, info@passcmfas.online.